The huge meeting room was full of angry voices. Katie Morgan sat at the long metal table and tried to stay calm. Her hands were shaking a little, but she kept them flat on the table so nobody could see. Next to her, Admiral Jack Harrison sat, up straight like a soldier should. His gray hair was neat and his uniform was perfect, but Katie could see the worry in his eyes. All around them, alien creatures were talking loudly. Some looked like giant bugs with too many eyes. Others were tall and made of what looked like living crystal. The snake-like ones kept hissing when they talked. Katie had been coming to these meetings for 3 years now, but she still felt small when surrounded by so many different species. The crystal being at the front of the room stood up. His name was Chancellor Zephyr, and he was the leader of the Galactic Council. When he moved, light bounced off his body and made rainbow patterns on the walls. He was beautiful to look at, but Katie knew he hated humans. "We have called this meeting because humanity has gone too far," Chancellor Zephyr said. His voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "For 20 years, your species has been expanding across the galaxy without asking permission. For 20 years, you have taken planets and built colonies wherever you wanted." Katie started to stand up, but Jack put his hand on her arm to stop her. He knew she wanted to argue, but he also knew it was better to listen first. The snake-like alien next to Chancellor Zephyr raised her head. Her name was Speaker Sis, and her green scales caught the light when she moved. "Humans take everything," she said, and her voice was like steam coming out of hot water. "You see a planet and you land on it. You see resources and you take them. You never ask who was there first." "That's not true," Katie said, finally standing. "For Sim, we follow all the rules. We only go to planets that nobody else claimed. We check the databases before we land anywhere." A big insect-like creature laughed, which sounded like clicking and buzzing. "Your databases," he said. "Human databases. You never check with us. You never ask the council if it's safe to take a planet." Jack stood up slowly. He was tall and strong, and even though he was older now, he still looked like someone you wouldn't want to fight. "We've been members of this council for 20 years, he said. "We've followed every law you gave us. We've paid every tax you asked for. What exactly are we doing wrong?" Chancellor Zephyr's crystal body flashed bright red. "You're doing everything wrong. Humans grow too fast. You have too many babies. You build too many cities. You want too much stuff. Other species take hundreds of years to expand to one new planet. Humans do it in 5 years. Maybe that's because we work harder," Katie said. She knew she shouldn't have said it, but she was getting angry. The room exploded with noise. Every alien started talking at once. Some were shouting, some were hissing, and the bug-like ones were making that clicking sound. Katie sat down and looked at Jack. He was still standing, but now he looked really serious. Silence. Chancellor Zephyr's voice was so loud it hurt to hear. The room got quiet. "This is exactly what we mean. Humans think they are better than everyone else. You think working harder makes you special. You think growing faster makes you superior." Speaker Sis moved closer to the human table. "Humans are dangerous," she said. "You change things too fast. You make other species feel bad about themselves. Some of our young people look at human worlds and ask why we don't build cities like that. Why we don't have ships like that. Why we don't explore like that." A new alien stood up. Katie had never seen this type before. It looked like a walking tree with glowing fruit hanging from its branches. "Humans make us all look slow," it said, in a voice like wind through leaves. "Our people are starting to ask questions. They want to know why we can't expand like humans do. This causes problems in our society." Katie felt her face get hot. "So you're mad at us because we make you look bad? That's crazy." Jack put his hand on her shoulder again. "Katie," he said quietly, "let me handle this." He looked around the room at all the different aliens. "Let me understand this correctly. You're upset with humanity because we're successful. You want us to slow down our expansion because it makes your own species feel bad about their progress. Is that what this meeting is about?" "It's about balance," Chancellor Zephyr said. "The galaxy has been peaceful for 1,000 years because every species knows their place. Everyone expands slowly. Everyone asks permission. Everyone shares resources. Humans upset this balance. We share resources, Katie said. We trade with everyone. Our colonies produce food and materials that we sell to other species. You sell them, Speaker Sis hissed. You don't give them away. You don't share them freely like the old ways demand. Admiral Jack Harrison took a deep breath. So what do you want us to do? Chancellor Zephyr's crystal body turned a dark blue color. We want humanity to accept limits. No more than one new colony every 10 years. No more than 50 million humans on any single planet. No more trading without council approval. No more research projects without council oversight. The room got very quiet. Katie felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. Jack's face went completely blank, which Katie knew meant he was really, really angry. And if we refuse? Jack asked. Chancellor Zephyr stood up to his full height, which was almost 8 feet tall. Then humanity becomes a threat to galactic peace. All trade with human worlds stops immediately. All human colonies outside your home solar system must be abandoned. Your species will be contained to Earth and its nearby planets until you learn to follow council guidance. Katie stood up so fast her chair fell over. You can't do that. We have rights. We're members of this council. Members who follow the rules, Speaker Sis said. Members who accept their place in the galactic community. Jack reached over and picked up Katie's chair. Then he helped her sit down. He took all the papers from their table and put them in his briefcase. Katie watched him do this and felt scared. She had never seen Jack give up on anything before. Admiral, she whispered. Jack closed the briefcase with a loud click. The sound echoed in the quiet room. Then he stood up and looked directly at Chancellor Zephyr. In that case, Jack said in a voice so calm it was scary, this conversation is over. He picked up his briefcase and started walking toward the door. Katie quickly grabbed her own papers and followed him. Her heart was beating so fast she could hear it in her ears. You cannot survive alone, Chancellor Zephyr called after them. No species has ever succeeded outside the Council's protection. You need us more than we need you. Jack stopped walking. He didn't turn around, but Katie could see his shoulders get tense. Admiral Harrison, Speaker Sis said, and her voice was softer now, almost worried. Please reconsider. Humanity has potential, but you are still young as a species. The galaxy is dangerous for those who stand alone. Jack turned his head just enough to look back at the council. We'll see about that. Then he walked out of the room, and Katie followed him. Behind them, the aliens started talking again, but their voices sounded different now. Less angry, more worried. As they walked down the long hallway away from the council chambers, Katie finally found her voice. Jack, what are we going to do? Admiral Jack Harrison smiled for the first time that day. We're going to show them what happens when you try to put humans in a cage, Katie. We're going to show them that they just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. 6 months had passed since Admiral Jack Harrison walked out of the council meeting. Now he stood on the bridge of his ship, looking down at a planet that used to be home to 3 million humans. New Terra looked empty from space. No lights from the cities. No ships flying around the orbital stations. No radio signals coming from the surface. Status report, Jack called to his crew. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez looked up from her computer station. All the transport ships are loaded and ready to go, sir. We took all the important equipment from the industrial platforms, the mining robots, the manufacturing systems, the computer cores. Everything valuable is packed up. Jack nodded. New Terra had been humanity's biggest colony outside of Earth. For 20 years, humans had built cities here, raised families here, made it into a real home. Now it looked like a ghost planet. Captain Steve Campbell walked over from his station. Sir, the stealth ships reported that they finished their mission at the research station in the Kepler system. The council monitors think we just evacuated. Everyone like normal, but they don't know we took the entire quantum computer lab with us. This was the real plan. The council thought humans were giving up and going home with their tails between their legs. They thought forcing humans to abandon their colonies was a punishment that would make them behave better. But the council was wrong. Humans weren't just leaving. They were taking everything with them. Every piece of advanced technology, every research project, every manufacturing system they had built over the past 20 years. To anyone watching from outside, it looked like humans were obeying the Council's orders and retreating in defeat. But the truth was much different. Director Helen Wright came up to stand next to Jack. She was in charge of all human colonies, and she had been working day and night to coordinate the evacuation. "The plan is working perfectly," she said. "Every human settlement is following the same pattern. We take everything important. We leave the buildings and basic infrastructure behind to make it look like we're really abandoning the planets, and then we move everyone to the new locations." "Where exactly are we going?" Amy asked from her station. It was the question everyone wanted to ask, but most people were afraid to. Helen smiled. It was the first time Jack had seen her smile in months. "Somewhere the Council's maps don't show. Admiral Harrison found us places to live that aren't in any galactic database." Jack looked out at New Terra one more time. The cities were still there, but they were empty. The roads were still there, but no cars drove on them. The spaceport was still there, but no ships landed at it. To the Council's spy satellites, it would look like humans had really given up and gone home. But the spy satellites couldn't see what wasn't there. They couldn't detect the research equipment that had been carefully packed into the transport ships. They couldn't count the manufacturing systems that were now heading toward secret destinations. They couldn't track the people who were supposed to be going back to Earth but were actually traveling to places the Council had never heard of. Captain Campbell checked his instruments. "Sir, we're receiving the all-clear signal from the last transport group. Everyone is off the planet." "Good," Jack said. "Begin final departure sequence." As Jack's ship prepared to leave New Terra's orbit, he thought about the past 6 months. The Council had given humanity an ultimatum: accept limits on expansion or face isolation. They thought they were punishing humans by forcing them to give up their colonies. But they didn't understand humans very well. Humans didn't like being told what they could and couldn't do. Humans didn't like having limits put on their growth and exploration. And humans were very good at finding ways around problems that seemed impossible to solve. While the Council was congratulating themselves on successfully containing the human threat, humans had been working on a different solution. Instead of accepting the Council's restrictions, they had decided to leave the Council's territory entirely. "Helen," Jack said, "how many planets have we found?" 17 that are ready for colonization right now," she replied. "Another 30. That will be ready within 2 years once we finish the terraforming work. And we're still exploring. The galaxy is much bigger than the Council realizes." Amy looked surprised. 17 planets? But how did we find so many places that the Council doesn't know about? Jack walked over to the main display screen. "The Council has been around for 1,000 years, but they're very conservative. They only explore star systems that are easy to reach and safe to visit. They avoid dangerous areas like black holes, neutron stars, and unstable space phenomena." The display showed a star map, but it was different from the maps the Council used. This map showed star systems hidden behind cosmic storms, planets orbiting in the shadows of dead stars, worlds that existed in places where Council ships were afraid to go. "Humans aren't afraid of dangerous places," Helen added. "We're good at solving problems and adapting to difficult conditions. What looks impossible to other species looks like an interesting challenge to us." Steve pointed to one area of the map. "This system here is hidden behind a nebula that interferes with most types of sensors. Council ships can't even detect that there are planets there, but human ships can navigate through the interference." "And this one," Amy said, pointing to another area, "is near a neutron star. The gravitational fields are so strong that most species consider it too dangerous to approach, but humans figured out how to use those same gravitational fields to power our cities." Jack felt proud as he listened to his crew talk about humanity's achievements. The Council thought they were punishing humans by making them leave. But humans had turned punishment into opportunity. "The Council wanted to limit our expansion to one planet every 10 years, Helen said. "They thought that would slow us down and make us easier to control. Instead, we're expanding faster than ever before. We're just doing it in places they can't see." The ship's engines powered up, and Jack felt the familiar vibration under his feet. New Terra fell away behind them as they accelerated toward the jump point. "Where are we headed now?" Steve asked. "A place we're calling Haven," Jack replied. "It's our first major settlement in the new territory. By the time we arrive, it should have a population of about 500,000 people and full industrial capabilities." Amy shook her head in amazement. 500,000 people, and the council doesn't even know it exists. "That's the point," Helen said. "For 6 months, they've been watching our old colonies go dark and thinking they've won. They have no idea that every ship that was supposed to return to Earth actually went somewhere else entirely." Jack looked at his crew and felt a sense of satisfaction. The council had tried to put humans in a cage, but humans had simply found a bigger playground. They had tried to limit human expansion, but humans had discovered new places to expand into. They had tried to control human research and development, but humans had taken their labs and factories to places where no one could interfere with their work. "They think silence means defeat," Jack said as his ship jumped into hyperspace. "They're about to learn that silence can also mean preparation." Behind them, New Terra continued its silent orbit around its star. The automated systems still broadcast, basic maintenance signals making it look like the planet was simply abandoned, rather than strategically evacuated. Council surveillance would record another successful evacuation. Another human colony returned to empty space. But far ahead of them, in star systems that existed beyond the reach of Council authority, humanity was building something that would change the galaxy forever. The Council had wanted to contain the human threat. Instead, they had set it free. 2 years had passed since the last human ship disappeared from Council space. In the Great Council chambers, the alien leaders met for their regular monthly meeting. The room felt different now, quieter, more peaceful. Councillor Vex of the Aquatic Collective raised one of his tentacles to speak. He was a blue creature that looked like a giant octopus, and water constantly dripped from his skin onto the floor around his chair. "I want to discuss the human situation," he said in his gurgling voice. The other council members turned to listen. This had become a normal part of every meeting for the past 2 years. Someone would ask about the humans, they would review the reports, and then they would move on to other business. Intelligence Director Krall stood up at his station. He was tall and thin like a praying mantis, with huge compound eyes that could look in different directions at the same time. His job was to watch all the species in the galaxy and make sure they followed council rules. "The human quarantine remains completely successful," Director Krall said, clicking his mandibles together as he spoke. "All human colonies outside their home solar system are still abandoned. Our long-range sensors detect no human activity beyond Earth and its nearby planets. Their communication networks have gone completely silent except for basic system maintenance. Broadcasts." Chancellor Zephyr, the crystal being who led the council, flashed a satisfied blue color. "No attempts to contact us? No request to rejoin the council under our terms?" "None at all," Director Krall replied. "It appears that humanity has finally accepted their isolation. They seem to understand that they cannot survive without council support and protection." Speaker Sis, the snake-like alien, raised her head from where she had been coiled around her speaking platform. "What about their population? Are they having problems feeding themselves now that they cannot trade with other worlds?" Director Krall consulted his datapad. "Our estimates suggest their population growth has slowed significantly. Without access to new planets for colonization, they appear to be focusing on maintaining their current numbers rather than expanding." The room filled with pleased murmurs. The council members had been worried about the human problem for years. Humans expanded too fast, grew too quickly, and asked too many questions. They made other species feel inadequate and caused problems in alien societies where young people started asking why their own civilizations couldn't progress as rapidly as the humans did. "Excellent," said a tree-like alien whose glowing fruit pulsed with satisfaction. "Our young people have stopped asking uncomfortable questions about human achievements. Social stability has improved significantly across our territories. But far away from the council chambers, in a region of space that existed beyond their sensors and outside their maps, a very different story was taking place." Captain Tony Lee stood on the observation deck of the colony ship Endeavour, looking down at a world that officially did not exist. The planet had no name in any council database, no coordinates in any official star chart, no mention in any galactic survey. But the humans who lived there had named it Haven, and it was beautiful. Haven's surface showed all the signs of successful human colonization. Cities spread across the continents like glowing webs of light. Orbital platforms surrounded the planet like metal moons, their solar collectors and manufacturing bays working constantly to support the growing population below. Transport ships moved between the surface and the orbital stations in steady streams, carrying people and cargo back and forth. "How many people are living down there now?" asked Dr. Susan Clark, the mission's chief scientist. She was a small woman with gray hair who had spent most of her life studying alien worlds. But Haven was the first planet she had helped build from scratch. Captain Lee checked his data pad. Just over 2 million at last count. We're adding about 10,000 new residents every month as more ships arrive from the other hidden colonies. Engineer Paul Davis joined them at the large window that looked out over Haven's surface. His clothes were dirty from working on the ship's systems, and his hands were stained with grease from the quantum fabrication equipment. "The council wanted to limit our expansion to one planet every 10 years, he said with a laugh. "We've established 17 fully operational worlds in just 2 years. Dr. Clark studied the readings from Haven's surface on her portable scanner. "The amazing thing is how much faster we're developing without council oversight. No committees to approve every decision. No regulations that force us to share our technology with species that might use it against us. No requirements to limit our research because it might make other civilizations feel bad about themselves." Paul wiped his hands on a rag and pointed toward Haven's industrial orbital platforms. "Those manufacturing stations are producing technology that's at least 50 years ahead of anything the Council has ever seen. We're not just hiding from them, we're advancing beyond them." Captain Lee nodded as he watched another transport ship launch from Haven's surface toward the orbital stations. "The isolation is actually helping us in ways the Council never imagined. For the first time in decades, humans can develop at our own pace without interference." "They think silence means we gave up," Dr. Clark said. "They have no idea that silence means we're finally free to reach our full potential." The conversation was interrupted by a communication signal from Haven's planetary government. Captain Lee activated the ship's communication system, and the face of Governor Lisa Martinez appeared on the main screen. She was a middle-aged woman who had been elected to lead Haven's government by the planet's growing population. "Captain Lee, we've received word from the exploration fleets," Governor Martinez said. "They've found 12 more star systems that meet our requirements for colonization. All of them are hidden behind natural phenomena that make them invisible to Council sensors." Paul whistled in amazement. 12 more systems? How many planets does that represent? 36 worlds that could support human life with minimal terraforming, the governor replied. "Some of them are even better than Haven. Richer mineral resources, more suitable climates, better defensive positions." Dr. Clark turned to Captain Lee with excitement in her eyes. "At this rate, we'll have a hidden civilization that's larger than our original Council territories within 5 years. Captain Lee smiled as he looked back down at Haven. "The Council gave us a choice: accept their limits or face isolation. They thought isolation would weaken us and force us to come back begging for readmission to their organization. Instead, isolation is making us stronger," Paul added. "Every piece of technology we develop, every scientific breakthrough we achieve, every world we colonize, it all belongs to humanity alone. We don't have to share it with species that want to hold us back." Governor Martinez's image leaned forward on the communication screen. "There's something else you should know. Our intelligence networks have been monitoring Council communications. They think the human problem has been solved. They believe we're contained and defeated." "Perfect," Captain Lee said. "Let them think that. The longer they believe we're no longer a threat, the more time we have to build our strength." Dr. Clark walked over to another window that showed the stars beyond Haven. Somewhere out there, the Council is having their monthly meetings and congratulating themselves on successfully containing humanity. They have no idea that we're expanding faster than ever before. "They wanted us to slow down," Paul said. "Instead, We've eliminated the only thing that was actually slowing us down, their interference. As the three humans stood looking out at Haven and the stars beyond, transport ships continued moving between the planet's surface and its orbital stations. On the planet below, cities continued growing. In the hidden star systems beyond Haven, exploration teams continued discovering new worlds suitable for human colonization. The Council had tried to put humanity in a cage, but they had only succeeded in removing the leash that had been holding humanity back. Now, in the silence and isolation of hidden space, humanity was becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. A truly free civilization, answerable to no authority but their own ambition, and limited only by their own imagination. Tyr, Galaxy thought humanity had been defeated. Soon they would learn how wrong they were. 5 years had passed since humanity disappeared from known space. The galaxy had settled into a comfortable routine without the unpredictable humans causing problems at every council meeting. Trade flowed smoothly along approved routes. Territorial. Disputes were resolved through proper channels, and no species asked uncomfortable questions about why they couldn't expand as quickly as others. Then the reports started coming in. Admiral Kane Brooks stood in the command center of his flagship, the Starship Independence. Around him, 50 ships moved in perfect formation through hyperspace, each one built with technology that hadn't existed when humans were still council members. The ships were sleek and powerful, with hull designs that no other species had ever seen. Target acquired, reported Commander Beth Adams from her station. She was a young officer who had been born on one of the hidden human worlds, part of a generation that had grown up free from council restrictions. Zephyrian mining operation in the Outer Rim, Grid 77 Alpha. They're strip mining an entire asteroid field. Captain Gary Miller looked up from his navigation console. Our long-range sensors show clear signs of developing life in the system's fourth planet. Early-stage civilization, probably a few thousand years away from spaceflight. The mining operation is disrupting their planet's magnetic field. Admiral Brooks nodded grimly. This was exactly the kind of situation that had caused humanity's original problems with the Council. The Zephyrians were destroying resources and potentially harming a developing civilization, but under Council law it was perfectly legal because the aliens on the fourth planet hadn't achieved space travel yet. This is why we left, Admiral Brooks said to his crew. The Council makes laws that protect established civilizations, but ignore species that might become civilized in the future. The Independence and its fleet dropped out of hyperspace near the mining operation. The Zephyrian ships were massive industrial vessels, each one the size of a small city. They had been working in the asteroid field for months, breaking apart space rocks and extracting valuable minerals. Communications, open a channel to the mining commander, Admiral Brooks ordered. Lieutenant Scott Johnson worked at his controls. Channel open, sir. Zephyrian mining vessel. This is Admiral Brooks of the Human Independent Fleet. You are conducting operations in a protected system. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The response came quickly, and the Zephyrian commander's crystal face appeared on the main screen. His body was flashing angry red colors and his voice sounded like breaking glass. Human vessel, you have no authority here. The Council voted to exile your species 5 years ago. Return to your quarantine zone immediately, or we will report this violation. Admiral Brooks remained calm. The Council's authority extends only to Council members. Humanity is no longer bound by Council restrictions. You have 1 hour to evacuate this system. The Zephyrian commander's crystal form flashed brighter with rage. You cannot enforce such demands. Your species lacks the strength to challenge. Council authority. You are a defeated people hiding in the shadows. Admiral Brooks gestured to Commander Adams, who activated the Independence's targeting systems. The ship's weapons locked onto the mining station with perfect precision. The targeting display showed that human weapons could destroy the entire mining operation in seconds. We're not challenging Council authority over Council members, Admiral Brooks said calmly. We're informing you of our decision regarding this system. 59 minutes remaining. The Zephyrian commander stared at the human weapons display in shock. The technology was far beyond anything in the Council databases. The targeting systems were more precise than anything the Zephyrians had seen. The weapon power levels were impossibly high. "How is this possible?" the commander whispered. "Your species was contained 5 years ago. You had no resources, no territory, no way to develop such capabilities." "You're right," Admiral Brooks replied. "We had no way to develop such capabilities while following Council regulations. Fortunately, we're no longer following Council regulations." The Zephyrian commander tried to sound threatening, but his voice was shaking. "The Council will not tolerate this aggression. When they learn of your return, they will send fleets to destroy you." "The Council is welcome to try," Commander Adams said from her station. "But they should know that what you're seeing here is just one small part of humanity's new capabilities." Captain Miller added, "This fleet represents less than 5% of current human military strength. We have 49 other fleets of similar size, and they're all equipped with technology that makes our old Council-era ships look like toys." The Zephyrian commander's crystal body turned pale blue, which meant he was scared. "Impossible. No species can develop such strength in only 5 years. No Council species can develop such strength in 5 years," Admiral Brooks corrected. "But then, we're not a Council species anymore, are we?" Lieutenant Johnson looked up from his communications panel. "Admiral, we're receiving emergency transmissions from multiple Council worlds. Word about our presence here is spreading fast." "Good," Admiral Brooks said. "It's time the galaxy knew we were back." On the main screen, the Zephyrian commander was frantically talking to someone off-camera. Admiral Brooks could hear parts of the conversation: emergency council sessions, reports of impossible human technology, requests for military support. 45 minutes remaining," Commander Adams announced. The Zephyrian commander turned back to face the human fleet. We need time to contact the Council. This situation requires official review." The Council had 5 years to review their decision to exile humanity, Admiral Brooks replied. "They declared us a threat to galactic peace and ordered us to accept isolation. We accepted their decision. Now they can accept the consequences." Captain Miller received a new sensor reading and looked up with surprise. "Admiral, the mining operation is powering down. The Zephyrian ships are beginning evacuation procedures." "Smart choice," Admiral Brooks said. He turned back to the communications screen. "Zephyrian Commander, you are making the right decision. This system is now under human protection. Any future mining operations will require our approval." The Zephyrian commander's crystal form was flashing rapidly between different colors: red for anger, blue for fear, yellow for confusion. "Human protection? You cannot simply claim systems. There are laws. There are procedures. There are Council." "Laws and Council procedures," Admiral Brooks agreed. "But we're not Council members. We make our own laws now." As the Zephyrian ships began leaving the asteroid field, emergency signals flooded the galactic communication networks. Council worlds were calling emergency sessions. Intelligence services were trying to understand how humans had developed such advanced technology. Military commanders were asking how many human ships existed and where they were located. Lieutenant Johnson monitored the communications traffic. "Admiral, the Council is in complete chaos. They're receiving reports of human fleets in 17 different systems. Some of those systems aren't even in their databases." 17 systems so far," Commander Adams said with a smile. "Wait until they realize we're active in over 200 systems." Admiral Brooks looked out at the stars beyond the asteroid field. Somewhere out there, the Council was scrambling to understand what had happened. They had spent 5 years believing that humanity was defeated and contained. Now they were learning that humanity had used those 5 years to become something the galaxy had never seen before. "They wanted us to accept limits," Admiral Brooks said to his crew. "They wanted us to slow down our expansion and follow their rules. Instead, they gave us the freedom to expand without any limits at all." The Independents began moving toward the next system on their patrol route. Behind them, the Zephyrian mining operation continued its evacuation, and emergency signals continued, flooding the galactic networks. The Council had thought they were solving the human problem 5 years ago. Now they were discovering that they had created a much bigger problem instead. Humanity was back, stronger than ever, and this time they were playing by their own rules. The council chambers had never been so chaotic. Emergency meetings had been called every day for 3 weeks as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Human ships were appearing everywhere, showing technology that seemed impossible and claiming authority over systems the council had never even explored. Counselor Vex slammed his tentacle against his speaking platform so hard that water splashed onto the floor. "This is madness," he gurgled angrily. "Humans are violating every principle of organized galactic society. They appear in systems without permission, make demands without authority, and threaten established operations without legal basis." Intelligence Director Krall's compound eyes twitched nervously as he read from his datapad. "Our analysis teams cannot determine how humanity achieved such rapid technological advancement. The ships they are using exceed our best projections by several generations. Their weapon systems, their engines, their sensors, everything is far beyond what we thought possible." Speaker Sis coiled her snake-like body tighter around her platform. "Where did they go during the 5 years of silence?" she hissed. "How did a defeated species emerge stronger than ever? This makes no sense." Chancellor Zephyr's crystal form flashed angry red colors as he spoke. "They cannot simply ignore galactic law. They cannot claim systems and issue ultimatums. We must respond with force." But before any of the council members could respond, the main communication screen activated. The face of Admiral Jack Harrison appeared, older now but still projecting the same calm authority he had shown when walking out of the council chambers 5 years earlier. "Honored council members," Admiral Harrison said, and his voice carried just a hint of amusement. "Humanity requests permission to address this assembly." The council chamber erupted in angry voices, but Chancellor Zephyr raised his hand for silence. "You have no right to address this council. You abandoned your membership. You have no legal standing in galactic affairs." Admiral Harrison smiled slightly. "You're absolutely correct. We have no legal standing as council members. That's why we're here as representatives of an independent galactic power, requesting diplomatic relations as equals." The word "equals" sent shocked murmurs through the chamber. Speaker Sis raised her head high. "Equals? You are a quarantined species. You were exiled for threatening galactic stability. We were exiled for refusing to accept artificial limits on our growth," Admiral Harrison corrected. "You offered us a choice. Accept your restrictions or face isolation. We chose isolation and we've made the most of it." Captain Derek Thompson appeared beside Admiral Harrison on the screen. He was wearing a uniform that none of the council members recognized, with insignia that suggested a vast military organization. "While you were congratulating yourselves on solving the human problem, we were solving the problem of council oversight." The display screen changed to show a star map that made the council members gasp in shock. Dozens of star systems glowed with indicators of human presence, but none of them appeared in any council database. Hidden worlds, secret colonies, entire civilizations that had developed beyond the reach of council authority. Dr. Monica Price joined the two men on the screen. She was a small woman with intelligent eyes who carried herself with the confidence of someone who had achieved great things. 47 inhabited worlds, 15 major industrial complexes, 3 dedicated research systems, and a combined population approaching 800 million humans, all developed during our 5-year absence from galactic politics. Counselor Vex's tentacles writhed in disbelief. "Impossible. No species can achieve such expansion without council resources and support." Captain Thompson smiled. "No council species can achieve such expansion. But we haven't been a council species for 5 years, have we?" Chancellor Zephyr's crystal form flashed rapidly between different colors. "This expansion is illegal. These systems were not approved for colonization. You have violated every treaty and convention of civilized galactic society." "We have violated council treaties and conventions," Admiral Harrison agreed. "But we're not bound by council authority anymore. You made that very clear 5 years ago." The display changed again, showing images of human cities on worlds that defied imagination. Cities built in the shadows of black holes, colonies thriving near neutron stars, industrial complexes hidden within nebulae, places where council species had never dared to explore. You called us dangerous because we expanded too quickly, Dr. Price said. You said we made other species feel inadequate because we achieved too much too fast, so we removed ourselves from your territory and expanded at our own pace. Speaker Sis hissed in frustration. You cannot simply ignore the established order. The galaxy has been peaceful for 1,000 years because every species accepts their place. The galaxy has been stagnant for 1,000 years, Captain Thompson corrected. While council species spent centuries debating every decision, humanity spent 5 years building a civilization that makes our previous achievements look like practice exercises. Intelligence Director Krall finally found his voice. What do you want? Why are you revealing yourselves now? Admiral Harrison's expression became serious. We want the galaxy to understand the new reality. Humanity is no longer asking for counsel, permission to exist. We're not requesting readmission to your organization. We're informing you that we exist as an independent galactic power, and we're open to trade and diplomatic relations with any species that wishes to treat us as equals. Chancellor Zephyr's form flashed bright red. And if we refuse to recognize your illegal expansion, then you refuse, Admiral Harrison said calmly. But that won't change the facts. We exist. We're expanding. We're protecting developing civilizations that council law ignores. We're building a better galaxy according to our own values. The display showed more images. Human fleets protecting primitive worlds from exploitation. Human colonies sharing technology with species the council had never contacted. Human scientists making discoveries that advanced galactic knowledge by centuries. You said we were a threat to galactic peace, Dr. Price added. But look at what we've accomplished. We've stopped 3 different species from strip mining systems with developing civilizations. We've made contact with 47 species that the Council didn't even know existed. We've advanced scientific knowledge in ways that benefit everyone. Counselor Vex raised a trembling tentacle. But the order, the stability, the established way of doing things, the established way wasn't working, Captain Thompson replied. The Council's way meant slow expansion, careful politics, and ignoring problems that were inconvenient to address. Humanity's way means rapid progress, direct action, and protecting those who need protection. Admiral Harrison stood up on the transmission and his image filled the screen. 5 years ago you gave us an ultimatum. Accept limits or face isolation. We chose isolation, and we used it to become something the galaxy has never seen before. A truly independent civilization. The transmission began to fade, but Admiral Harrison's final words echoed clearly through the council chamber. We're not asking for your approval. We're not requesting your permission. We're simply informing you that humanity has returned to galactic affairs, and this time we're playing by our own rules. The screen went dark, leaving the council members sitting in stunned silence. The species that had voted to quarantine humanity as a dangerous threat now faced the reality that their actions had not contained the human problem, but had instead freed it from all restraints. In the empty space where humanity had once sat at the council table, their absence had become a presence that changed everything. They had left as a quarantined species facing exile. They had returned as a galactic superpower that answered to no authority but their own conscience. The council would spend months debating their response, forming committees to study the implications, and drafting proposals for dealing with this unprecedented situation. Meanwhile, humanity would continue expanding, exploring, and building their civilization according to their own vision of what the galaxy could become. The galaxy had watched as humanity abandoned the table. Now they would learn what humanity could accomplish when they were free to build their own table, set their own rules, and invite others to join them as true equals.